Hi there, it's a beautiful day here in Oslo and it's almost 30 degrees, so I figured I'd make a nice coffee and I wanted to show you how we actually make it in our store. So we normally just make a V60. So what you need is a V60 filter, some kind of vessel and a scale, and of course good coffee. I'm gonna start off by rinsing the filter just to get the paper flavors out. And you can use hot water or cold water, it doesn't really matter. Just make sure you scrap this water before you start brewing, otherwise your brew is gonna get very thin. Alright, so I've ground 30 grams of coffee, and I really prefer to use a Kenyan coffee for these kind of iced coffees because they have such a beautiful acidity and a lot of fruit aromas. But you can also use any Ethiopian coffee with a lot of acidity and fruit, or basically kind of these coffees with a lot of florality or fruit flavors or acidity. Make sure you tear your scale, so we start on 0 and I have a timer on my scale, so we're gonna start that. And I'll pour about 60 grams of water, and that's 30 grams of coffee in there. Now I'm just stirring in here with a teaspoon to get everything wet. This is what people call the bloom. You don't really have to bloom if you don't want to, but then you need to adjust the grind setting a little bit differently. So now after about 30 seconds we'll pour more. I like to do quite a lot of water on the first pour. So we're up to 200 grams of water now. I'm just gonna make sure all the coffee is wet at all times. You can use your spoon to help out with that if you want, or just pour water on the coffee. Just make sure you don't pour too much water on the sides because you'll have a bypass of water. It's not very complicated. Now the reason we brew like this is because with hot water you get a lot more of this kind of complex and fruity flavors, as opposed to when you brew with cold water, like cold brew, you get kind of more of this malty, dark, kind of earthy flavors. That's more like, for me, like a malt whiskey, but I prefer to drink refreshing iced coffee, so it should be more fruity in my opinion. But you know, it's up to you. What I don't recommend is to use kind of these earthy coffees, Indian coffees, Brazilian coffees, or Sumatran coffees that has this kind of weedy flavors, because it doesn't really taste that great when it's cold. Unless you want to use it with milk or something like that, then you can use these kind of coffees. But if you want to drink it just straight, like I'm gonna do now, it's better to do the more refreshing coffees. So I'm about 2 minutes into the brew and just about to finish actually. So we're at 460 grams now. And normally if you ground your coffee well, a half-liter brew like this, which is 500 grams of water, 30 grams of coffee, should take about 2 minutes 30 seconds. So 2 minutes to 2 minutes 30 seconds, and then another 30 seconds or so just to pour through. If your brew is longer than that, you're probably going to end up with quite a lot of bitterness. So then you need to grind set your grinder a little coarser. And if it's just flushing through in a minute, it means you've ground too coarse, so you need to grind a lot finer. So it's kind of difficult to tell you how the grinds are going to feel, so it's better to use the time to see if you have the best grind setting. And of course, taste your coffee. If it tastes sweet and not too bitter, then it's a good thing. I kind of favor the light roast, as many people know, but especially for these kind of iced coffees, the lighter roasts really shine because you don't get that kind of roasty bitterness and you get a lot of the fruitiness. So that's what I prefer to do. Okay. Coffee was finished at around 3 minutes. So what you need to do now, let me just rinse this spoon. Just need to stir the coffee. But since we're gonna add a little bit of sugar, this is a half-liter brew, we're gonna add 6 grams of sugar. But you're welcome to add anything less or more if you want. But the sugar sort of makes the bitterness a little bit lower and really brings out the fruit once the coffee is chilled. Just stir that up. And what you do now is just put this in the fridge, or you can pour it into a bottle and put it on ice like I've done here. But be a little careful about that because glass and hot stuff with very cold stuff might break. So I actually tend to use a metal vessel when I brew the coffee to chill it down faster and then pour it on a bottle before I serve it. But here I made some previous this morning. So this is a liter brew with 12 grams of sugar. And this is how we serve it in our store. So refreshing for a hot summer day. Enjoy!